and said, well, this is what it'll take. And I was really kind of in the mode of, I know you're not going to take this, and I don't really want you to either, okay? And so she looked at it, glanced at it for maybe 10 seconds, signed the bottom of it, and handed it back to me. And I said, what do you mean? What are you doing? She said, whatever's on that piece of paper, it's yours. And I said, you don't even know what's on the piece of paper. She said, I don't care. I have to have you. I've got to have you. So part of it, and I said, okay, now, so then I said, okay, well, since you didn't look at it, I'm going to tell you what's on there. and my focus, my focus was not on the financial aspects of it, because she was, I knew that was going to be fine. I was more focused. Well, Andy, my son, who's in the second row here, had made the varsity basketball team, had come back to basketball after a few years and was on the varsity basketball team. And so the number one thing on my list, I will not miss one single home basketball game. I don't care if you tell me the sky is falling or, disaster's about to occur. If there's a basketball game that night, I will be leaving this office at 3 o'clock, and I will be back in Doylestown in time for that game. And she said, okay, good. We can do that. And so I saw every basketball game that season, every single one. And Andy was the sixth man. He was the first man off the bench. Tallest guy on the team, by the way, at the time. And he wasn't that tall. You're only, 6 feet tall, I think. Okay. So that, I think that's kind of the essence of what we're talking about. I don't want to get into more of the details, but that's the one I wanted you to hear, is that, number one, I honored my wife's request that we not ever move again for a job, okay, under any circumstances. And quite frankly, the benefits of that really were compounded, because a year and a half later, the Federal Trade Commission says, what? We let you merge together? Medco and Merck can't be merged together. That's unfair competition. And so they separated us and sent me back to Pennsylvania within about 14 to 15 months. So I had all the benefits of, that had been, quote, negotiated, I guess you might say, and I didn't miss a single basketball game. So this, I think, is what we're talking about here. I was in the mode, and had been for a long time, that my career and my job was my identity, okay? And Rob talked a little bit about that this afternoon. And so everything was centered around me and my identity, that if I didn't have that identity, then I didn't have anything. And so I came to the realization that that's a false promise, and did the right. I chose wisely. I didn't drink out of that gold chalice the way we watched the. So I want to start it with a positive example of this. That's the kind of job. That's the kind of decisions we have to make. Now, on top of that, to get to the real crux of the matter, and that is, it was shortly after that Rob and I got together and began to think about being in ministry together, and it took a while for us to figure that out. It took a few years to get it out, but it was that decision that drove me to understand what choosing wisely really meant. Okay, and I think that's what we're trying to get across to you guys, is that, and I'm going to talk about this later tonight. We all have a model for our life. We have a way that we do life, and in many cases, the way we manage life. And that model and the way we manage it determines how we make that choice. Because in my mind, for the longest time, I had a model that worked for what I did at work, and I expected that model ought to work in my home life and in my spiritual life. And I got to tell you, that's very unlikely.